in the store the other day, right? It's kind of this like gift shop place where they sell all kinds of home goods and home decorations and all that type of stuff. And I'm there for one reason, and that is to buy a picture frame. So I get in the store, right, and I go to the picture frame section. I'm kind of looking through all the different types of frames that I want to buy. And you know how they have those like temporary photos in the picture frames before you buy them? Yeah, the classic ones. You know the ones I'm talking about. Ones where like little Johnny has a sweater tied around his neck. He's got like the side part going on. These pictures are over the top ridiculous. So I'm like dying, laughing at these pictures, right? I mean, this is like free, cheap entertainment for me. Here I am, I come to the store, I'm getting a picture frame. Not only do I get a picture frame, but I get this awesome picture of some kid who probably didn't even know he was getting his picture taken eating an ice cream cone. I'm laughing, dying, thinking this is the most hilarious thing I've ever seen in my life. This is absolutely amazing. So I'm in the store looking at all these pictures, right? And my eyes move over all these ones that make me laugh to this one picture that just absolutely, like I couldn't breathe. I mean, it was as if somebody had come along and punched me in the stomach and knocked the breath right out of me. Now, there was nothing special about this picture. I mean, it was just another temporary photo, right? I mean, it was just, you know, something that they stuck in this picture frame to kind of put it on the shelf. But the thing that grabbed my attention about this picture was that it was this tree out in the middle of nowhere. And man, at this particular time in my life, that is exactly how I felt, all alone. And I couldn't explain it. I mean, I had no idea how I'd gotten to this point. There wasn't anything in my life that happened to make me feel this way. Just one day I looked up and realized that I had grown further and further away from the people that I cared about. And man, right there in the middle of this gift shop, months and months of gradual isolation from my family and friends literally took the breath right out of my chest. And I realized I was all alone. Have you ever felt alone? Now guys, listen, I'm not talking about the time where your friends dared you to ask out the hottest girl in school, okay? And you got stood up. That was your own fault. Ladies, I'm not talking about the time you actually had to go to the bathroom by yourself. I know, I understand, you guys are like herd animals. You travel in packs. You're like a wild pack of orangutans going to the bathroom to groom each other. I'm not talking about any of that stuff, okay? I'm talking about a time, man, where you needed help and nobody came to your rescue. When you called out for somebody and no one answered. Well, man, there was this guy named David in the Bible that we read about who went through one of the toughest times of his life all alone. Now let me kind of give you a little bit of background in David's life. You see, David started out as a shepherd for his father's sheep. Basically, it was this crappy summer job working for his dad. So here's the crazy thing, right? One day, David is a shepherd, and the next, and David goes to visit his brothers who are at battle and ends up killing this giant that everyone else was afraid of. I mean, that is an awesome day. I mean, can you picture David's friends saying, so David, what'd you do today, man? Oh, not much, you know, just killed a warrior giant with a rock. And so things move pretty quickly for David from that point on. The Bible says he pretty much becomes like this overnight celebrity, advancing in position and popularity with the king and the people of Israel. In fact, we find out that King Saul actually made David an officer in his army. I mean, David had everything going for him. The Bible pretty much says that everything David touched turned to gold. I mean, any battle that he fought, he won. Anyone that met him loved the guy. I mean, David had everything. man, the king of Israel, Saul, to be honest, started to get a little bit worried about all of David's success. You see, in his mind, he's thinking, man, all the people of Israel love this guy. I mean, what if they say, you know what, Saul, you're kind of old. We don't really like you anymore. We want to make David the new king. And to be honest, from that point on, Saul pretty much declares David kind of his unsung enemy. And in fact, shortly thereafter, all this went down. We find out that Saul threatens to kill David. And so now we find David, who once had everything going for him, running and hiding for his life. And before long, man, David probably finds himself sitting next to a campfire out in the middle of complete wilderness without anybody or anything to keep him company except his thoughts. I mean, here he was one day, literally, he had everything going for him, and the next day, he's completely and utterly alone. In fact, in Psalms 35, David says this about Saul and his men as they're coming to attack him. And when they were sick, I wore sackcloth and went without food. I truly prayed for them as I would have a friend or a relative. I was in sorrow and mourned as I would for my own mother. I've stumbled, and worthless liars I don't even know surround me and sneer. They repay evil for good, and I feel all alone. Maybe you feel the same way. You know, one day your family life was awesome, and then the next, it completely changed. You know, your mom or your dad just got too busy working, and it hurt your feelings. And instead of talking to them about it, you figured, man, it's just way easier if I don't say anything to them. And now the closest thing to you is the anger you feel from a severed relationship. And others of you have come to a point, maybe in your dating relationship, where you've completely ditched your other friendships just so you can have more time with this guy or this girl that you're dating. And let's face it, man, one day, this relationship is probably going to come to an end. And if it hasn't already, you're going to look up and see that you have no one there for you. You'll be all alone. And others of you have no idea why you feel so alone. I mean, maybe you just woke up one day and you realize, man, you've grown further and further away from the people in your life. And you have all these thoughts that kind of go through your head that won't go away. Thoughts like, man, I'll never measure up to what people want me to be. I'll never fit in. I'll never have any friends. However you arrive at this place of loneliness, whether it be through a series of events like David, or man, you just always struggled with it, know that you were never created to live life alone. Man, you need healthy relationships. For some of you, maybe you need to call up friends that, to be honest, you pretty much ditched for a dating relationship and say, hey, listen, you know, I know what happened was messed up, but I just wanted to call and say, man, I really value the friendship that we had. I'm sorry. Maybe some of you need to talk to your parents and say, listen, mom and dad, this whole weird relationship between myself and you guys is, man, it's really hurting me and tearing me up inside, and I really need you guys' support in my life. And perhaps you've always struggled with feeling alone. I want to challenge you, man, tell somebody about it. Find maybe a parent or a leader at church and just say, listen, I have these thoughts like I don't fit in, I don't belong to anybody, will you help me? You can't afford to live your life alone. You need healthy relationships. For others of you, man, maybe you just need to kind of get over being shy and just kind of get out of your comfort zone and meet some new people. However you arrive at loneliness, know that you always have the choice to turn back and pursue those key relationships in your life. And the most important one of those being your relationship with God. You see, the amazing thing about being a Christ follower is that once you know God and once you're putting time and effort into knowing Him, then you're never truly alone. And luckily for David, he valued those close relationships in his life. And he actually had people to come help him conquer his loneliness. You see, because the Bible says that his friends and family found out where he was hiding in the wilderness and came to help him. Maybe you've struggled with feeling alone your whole life. Well, know this, that God is a God who knows how you feel. Because at one point, Jesus was left alone to bear the sin of the entire world by himself, without the support of the one closest to him, his Father. We know this because the Bible says just before Jesus breathed his last breath, he cried out to God and said, "Father, why have you forsaken me?" You see, as a Christ follower, you have something that not even Jesus Christ himself had. And that is that there will never come a point in your life where God will forsake you. Because in Hebrews 13, God tells us, "Never will I leave you, never will I forsake you." And if God will never leave you, then you'll never truly be alone.